Welcome to the Stochastic MLB DFS Strategy Show. I'm your host, Neil Orfield. You can find me on Twitter at PlayerQDFS. I'm here with Adam Scherer. You can find him on Twitter at ShipMyMoneyDFS. And this show is sponsored by Underdog, which is your one-stop shop for all your best ball, fantasy, and pick'em prop needs. We'll talk about Underdog a bit more later on. While you're coming in, please do give us a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification button so you can get alerts when our shows go live. And if you haven't already done so, make sure that you check out our podcast channel. Give it a 5-star review as well. We're trying to get that going again. It's been kind of a little bit dormant this year. We're trying to revive the podcast channel a little bit. You can find my high stakes episodes on there as well. Of course, thank you to Underdog for sponsoring. And if you guys have not yet signed up for the Stochastic Hall of Fame, do that as well. Go to stochastic.com/avatar. Make that your avatar on DraftKings and FanDuel. Place in the top 3 of a contest with at least 5,000 contestants. Tweet your wins at StochasticHOF, or if you don't have Twitter, email them to us, and you can win a free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum. So check out the Stochastic Hall of Fame if you haven't already. Adam, I think we need to start by talking about, is Victor Wembanyama the biggest bust in NBA draft history?
So I haven't paid attention to Summer League at all, but I just happened to see like a tweet yesterday that he had, I guess, missed like his first 3 shots or something. But I've still seen more Brandon Miller negativity than Wemby negativity.
Wait, who? Brandon Miller, he's the number 3 pick?
Number 2.
Oh, he went number 2, and then Scoot went number 3. That's right. Really, I've only been seeing Victor Wembanyama. Everybody is very upset. They think he's not going to make it after his first game. I think he's just had 1 Summer League game. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure yesterday was his first game.
I don't pay attention to Summer League. I just because he's so hyped. That's all anybody, or I'm seeing a lot of it on Twitter. People talking about Wembanyama, and I'm like, feels a little bit early to be freaking out about this generational talent. But
yeah, it's the takes are always just insane. Like you get that Brandon Miller is going to be a bust. You get oh, this guy played really well. Is he going to unseat this other guy? It's like,
right,
maybe, but not because of this.
Yeah. It's funny narrative. I saw Emac asking, who do you think overslept? Nobody overslept. I had 2 VODs that I had to get done before this one. So I guess you could argue that I overslept, like waking up 2 hours ago, that I was running a little late. Also going on vacation today, Adam. I know I saw you talking about you're going to be off for a while. I'm going up north tonight, so I had to get my dog prepared to go.
You live in Minnesota, right?
I do live in Minnesota, but I live in the southern half of Minnesota. Okay. I'm going up north to a concert in Duluth, Minnesota tonight, and then going up even further later. Tomorrow we're going to be going up even further in Minnesota for a little bit of nature, get out of the cities a little bit. So looking forward to that, but had to prepare a little bit before starting the show. So I've actually had a very, very busy morning, but we made it here. I haven't looked very closely at the slate. The good news is you're really here. Adam's the one who's going to be talking about the slate for you. Yeah, it looks like we're just talking about the main slate in this one. We don't have to mess with any smaller slates. The first slate is the main slate. It is 11 games that we can talk about, and we'll get to talking about that now. Okay, first game on the slate, Adam, we've got the Cubs at the Yankees. Drew Smyly on the mound for the Cubs. Garrett Cole for the Yankees. How much interest do you have in the pitchers here?
Yeah, so I mean, Cole's going to look pretty solid. We have him second in top 2 pitching. Somewhere, and I can't figure out where.
Did you catch that? I clicked a wrong button by accident, and we went totally the wrong place. All right.
Okay. So
yeah, no, that was on me.
Okay.
I don't know what I did, but I accidentally clicked one of our different. Let me make sure I've got the right thing pulled up here. Or at least I think it was on me. I don't know.
I think it was too, because when I went to the StreamYard page, it was back on the countdown.
Yeah. No, that was on me. All right, we've got it on the right thing here. So you can tell me about your interest in Garrett Cole or Drew Smyly.
Yeah, so definitely interested in Cole. 11K, 23% chance of being a top 2 scoring pitcher, second highest on the slate. 33% ownership, also second highest on the slate. Just obviously a good pitcher, decent strikeout spot against the Cubs. He has a 26% strikeout percentage this year, 3.86 xFIP. Looks very good. We have him projected as the second highest scoring pitcher behind Gausman. No arguments there. So he looks really good. Smyly on the other side, it's a decent matchup. The Yankees lineup is pretty watered down right now. Probably not going to really need to get to him, though. Not a very good strikeout pitcher. $7,700, pretty much a correct price tag. He's just an average pitcher, about a 20% strikeout percentage, 4.87 xFIP this year. You do have a lot of right-handed bats on the Yankees. It is Yankee Stadium, so plays up power. 146 expected ISO allowed to righties this year. Nothing crazy there. Only striking him out 19% of the time. Just probably not really going to need to get to him today.
Okay. How much interest do you have in the bats in this one?
Not a ton. Like, clearly not looking to get to the Cubs against Cole all that much. He will give up some power. So, if you end up with like a Cubs mini stack or something, I guess it's fine. But Cole's just not the guy that you're really looking to target. On the other side, Smiley doesn't give up a ton of power, but also doesn't miss a lot of bats. It is a good park for hitting. Yankees right now, middle of the pack, 4.5% top stack percentage. They are projected for 9% aggregate ownership just because they're inexpensive. I'm on the wrong slate. I was on the night slate. Looking individually at the Yankees, I expect that you're just going to see a couple of bats pulling most of the ownership. You have Volpe leading off at 3,600. I'd expect him to be really popular. Torres and Stanton look good. Bader's relatively inexpensive. So the value component here for the Yankees is pretty nice. It's not the best matchup, but it is a good park. And yeah, individually, you have 16% ownership coming into Volpe, 14% to Bader, 13 to Torres, 11 to Donaldson, 10 to Stanton. So the right-handed bats here are just getting some ownership, and they probably should, just given how inexpensive they are.
Okay. And how would you rank the four sides of the game?
Cole, Yankees, Smiley, Cubs.
All right. Second game on the slate, we have Toronto at Detroit. Kevin Gausman on the mound for the Blue Jays, Matt Manning for the Tigers. What's your level of interest in these pitchers?
Gausman looks great. We do have weather concerns here. It looks like it should be okay. Maybe a late start and play, but as of right now, I'm treating it like it's going to be fine, but definitely something to keep an eye on over the next couple of hours. But Gausman's been one of the best pitchers in baseball this year. Really good matchup against the Tigers. Their active roster has the lowest WRC plus against right-handed pitching this year. Just actually now the Yankees have surpassed them, but and so have the Royals, but they're still 28th, 83 WRC plus, 23.9% strikeout percentage, one of the worst offenses. And Gausman so far this year, nearly a 33% K percentage, 2.82 xFIP is the best on the slate. He looks fantastic. He's getting more ownership than Cole at 43%, has the higher top two pitcher percentage at 26%. He looks great. On the other side, I'm not looking to get the Manning against Toronto.
How about the bats in this game?
The Blue Jays look pretty good. 4.8 implied run total. Manning is a former highly regarded prospect who hasn't really put it together in the majors. So far this year, limited sample, 240 expected ISO to righties. If you go back to last year, 167 expected ISO to righties, 163 to lefties. Doesn't get a ton of strikeouts. Obviously, you have a lot of power upside in Toronto's lineup. They are coming in third in top stack percentage at 8%. They are relatively expensive. So if you sort by stack score, they come in fourth, but still look like a good stack here. And you do have some value. Brandon Belt's hitting second at 3K. Kevin Biggio's hitting fifth for, I don't really know the reason, but he's hitting fifth at 2,500. Varsho's 3,300. Kirk is cheap. So it's a little bit easier to get to this team than it normally is. They actually only have three expensive guys in their lineup today. Springer's out on the paternity list. So you have Bichette at 5,200, Guerrero at 5K, Chapman at 4,600. Even those prices are a little bit cheaper than usual. And then other than that, they are cheap. So a little bit easier to get to than they normally are.
How would you rank the four sides of the game?
Gausman, Toronto, Detroit, Manning, I guess.
I like your comment. Why would Victor Wembanyama know who Britney Spears is? I was talking about that with Greg and Jordan yesterday, that he was born in 2004. Like that was like past her, like most, like when he was born was like.
He was also born in France.
True. But like, I think everybody knows who Britney Spears is. Like,
maybe in the 90s, probably, but like the combination of him being born in 2004 when she was, I don't know if she was still relevant or on her way out or what, and in another country, like I'm sure there's very famous French pop stars that I have no idea who they are.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Like the level, I feel like American pop stars is also a different level. Like our pop stars are better known worldwide than a lot. So I don't know.
Yeah, I would agree more
does.
if this happened in like 1999, I would have a hard time believing he didn't know who she was. He has no reason to know who she is.
Yeah, I think she's more. I think she's famous enough that he probably knows who she is. But I mean,
I would guess
there's certainly a chance that he doesn't.
I would guess he recognizes the name.
Okay, that's fair. Like he wouldn't recognize her.
He knows anything about her.
But I mean, regardless, like I'm sure you've seen the video by now where it's like he wasn't looking at her, like he had nothing to do with it. He was just like
Right.
walking away, and she came up and like touched him on the shoulder, and then his security guard like blocked her hand, and her hand hit her in the face. I don't know. It was
Yeah, I
bizarre
saw the
that it
video.
got
It
so
was
much
completely
buzz.
nothing.
Yeah, it was complete nothing. Yeah, it was kind of crazy how much people talked about that. But it is an interesting discussion. Like, does he know who she is? To what extent? Like, I assume that he does know who she is. I assume that he would actually recognize her as the likelier scenario, but I guess there is a possibility.
I don't
Being,
think I would even recognize her right now. Like when
well,
like
okay,
I'd be looking for like 20-year-old Britney Spears. Like that's what in my mind she looks like because I don't pay any attention to her now.
I suppose that's true. Yeah, I don't know. I would recognize her. I'm pretty sure, but yeah, that is a fair point. Like you don't. It's not like I see a ton of Britney Spears these days. She certainly
Like even
doesn't
when I
look like
saw the
20.
pictures, like in the TMZ article, I was like, I'm aware that's Britney Spears because you're telling me it's Britney Spears, but it doesn't even look
Right.
like Britney Spears.
That's fair. That is fair. Yeah. All right. Let's move on. Oh man, News God says she's like a B-list celebrity. Nobody cares about Britney. That is not true at all. She's got like super fans. People are like obsessed with her still
But outside of
to
those
this day.
people, nobody cares about her.
Yeah, I mean that's true. I don't pay attention to Britney Spears, but I think there are a lot of those people. Like I think she has like a standing Vegas thing too. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I feel like she does like she has a concert series in Vegas where she's like always playing, but maybe I don't
Like
know.
she definitely has a cult following, but
Yeah.
she's also not an A-list celebrity anymore.
Oh man, I think I disagree. I think I would still call her an A-list celebrity. I think she's like got a big enough cult following, and like the rest of us all still know who she is. At least in the U.S. we do, and I think most of the world probably does. But maybe I
She
could be
can't
way
be an
wrong.
A-list celebrity because there has to be a gap between her and like Taylor Swift.
Okay, that's true. I guess I'll give you that. So maybe she's B-list. Maybe I just overrate or underrate what A-list actually means. Yeah. So then, would you call Madonna an A-list celebrity?
Now, no.
Interesting. So they have to be like currently A-list for you to call them A-list. I'm
Yeah.
like if you get big enough, I feel like you're always an A-list celebrity, but I don't know. I
And
don't pay
Madonna, I
attention.
would say probably more so than Britney Spears because
Sure, she's more
Madonna
of an
didn't have
icon.
like this massive period of just complete like she's irrelevant, but like she she didn't like completely disappear like Britney Spears did.
Jake Swell says, try to act like she wasn't one of your crushes in her schoolgirl uniform. I don't think anybody's doing that.
Yeah, nobody's talking about that. But
Right.
what you're talking about came out before Victor Wembanyama was born.
Yeah. True. That is true. Emax says Neil is now self-identifying as Spears' super duper fan while dying on this hill. I guess so. All right, we can move on. We've talked about Britney Spears enough, but interesting to not consider A-list to me. All right, next up, we're going back at it. Baltimore at Minnesota. Tyler Wells on the mound Tyler Wells on the mound for the Orioles. Sonny Gray for the Twins. What's your level of interest in the pitchers here, Adam?
Gray looks pretty good, but 9,400. It's not like you're getting a huge discount on him or anything. He's getting 5% ownership, 12% chance of being a top 2 scoring pitcher. Don't mind him in tournaments, but there are a lot of options you're going to get to first. This is actually a slate where not only do you have some more talented pitchers, but they're also in good matchups. Like, yeah, Gausman's more expensive, but he's facing the Tigers. We haven't gotten to this game yet, but Paxton's facing Oakland. So it's tough to prioritize Gray, but he is a good pitcher. He is going a little bit under-owned if you need to save some ownership. Wells, somewhat interesting. Kind of surprised he's getting 3 times the ownership of Gray, but $9,000. He has struck out about 26% of the hitters he's faced this year. He's facing a Twins lineup that has plenty of strikeouts. The only real problem that Wells has had this year is that he cannot stop giving up home runs. He does generally do it with the bases empty because he doesn't put guys on base. He doesn't walk guys. He doesn't give up hits unless it goes over the wall. But this park also downplays power a bit, so especially compared to Camden Yards, at least for lefties. So Wells looks pretty good. I'm a little surprised he's getting as much ownership as he is at 9K though.
Okay. Wait. So you do you have interest in Sonny Gray? I think I missed that. I assume so.
I mean, he's okay. I don't like the matchup. I don't really like the price tag. There's a lot of pitchers I like more, but at only 5% ownership, I think he's going under-owned. I don't know how much that means you end up actually getting though.
Okay. What about the bats here? You playing any Orioles or Twins bats?
Probably not too much. Wells does have power issues, as I mentioned. 4.5% chance of being the top stack for Minnesota. They do have a 10% chance of being the top value stack. So they rank, they're tied for 5th in stack score. The value component here is pretty nice. Correa's 4,600, Buxton's 5,400. Everybody else in their lineup is $3,300 or less. And they do have some power here that could take advantage of Wells. It's really been righties so far this year that have caused him the biggest problems. 21.9% K percentage to righties with a 267 expected ISO compared to a 31% K percentage and 163 expected ISO to lefties. Buxton and Correa in particular look good here. On the Orioles side, they're a good offense. So it's never like you're wrong for stacking them. We do have Austin Hayes back finally. He's still only $3,900. No Westberg or Mullins in the lineup today, but Gray is good at limiting power. 115 expected ISO to lefties, 148 to righties. If you're going to Baltimore, I think it's purely just for the talent in that lineup.
Okay. How would you rank the 4 sides of the game?
Wells, Twins, Gray, Orioles.
All right. 3 up, 3 down. Next up, we've got St. Louis at Chicago. Miles Michaelis on the mound for the Cardinals. Touki Toussaint for the White Sox. Any interest in these pitchers, Adam?
I was still catching up on Britney Spears in chat. Not a ton. 7,300 for Michaelis is fine. Not an exciting pitcher by any stretch. He's getting like 3% ownership, 6% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. Toussaint's getting no ownership. 5% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. Tough matchup against the Cards. Not a lot of strikeouts. Good hitters in this lineup. 5.4 implied run total for St. Louis. 4.6 for the White Sox. Not a game, especially in this park, where I'm that interested in getting the pitching.
Okay. I will say, people in chat complaining about the conversation about Britney Spears and stuff, but it got people talking. Everybody's talking about it. So you complain, but you want to talk about it.
I mean, my favorite thing is when we'll be talking about something random and chat is just going at 100 miles an hour. Right. Everybody's commenting. And then you'll have the one asshole talk about baseball.
Right. I don't care. Yeah. We always get those. All right. How about the bats in this St. Louis Chicago game? Any interest?
Yeah. Good hitters park, 10.5 total. Toussaint has decent stuff. He's never really put it together at the major league level. Going back to the start of the 2021 season to try and get any sort of reasonable sample size, he has struck righties out 29.5% of the time, only a 127 expected ISO. Lefties have been his problem, 192 expected ISO. Doesn't strike them out at a high clip either. You're probably going to get a pretty balanced St. Louis lineup. So it's not to say you can't play Goldschmidt, Arenado, Contreras, Walker, but looking to Nolan Gorman, Nootbaar, Donovan, probably going to be the more appealing side there. As far as Michaelis goes, 178 expected ISO to lefties this year, 179 to righties. Doesn't strike a lot of guys out. The White Sox aren't the best lineup in terms of production this year, but they do have power in the middle of this order. 3 through 7 is pretty appealing with Robert, Jimenez, Vaughn, Berger, Sheets all hitting back to back to back. So neither one looks like a top stack, but it is a good park for hitting. There is certainly power upside here. St. Louis, 4% chance of being the top stack, 9% aggregate ownership. White Sox, 3% top stack and 3% aggregate ownership.
How would you rank the 4 sides of the game?
Cards, White Sox, Michaelis, Toussaint.
All right. Let's take a moment to talk about our sponsor, Underdog, here for just a second. I'm going to throw this up on the screen. I put the link into chat. It is pinned to chat, the link. If you want to sign up for Underdog, we have a fantastic deal. Sign up. You're going to get your first deposit matched up to $100. I believe that is, that is just the deal. So you sign up. You're going to get your first deposit matched up to $100 on Underdog. It's a great deal because that means you put $100 in. You can then, it'll be doubled. You're going to have $200. You can put $200 into Best Ball Mania 4. That's going to be 8 entries for you in Best Ball Mania 4, shots at $4 million. It's $3 million the top prize, but also $1 million regular season prize. I'm loving Underdog. I've been playing a ton of these drafts. I'm probably up to draft right now in several, but it's in slow drafts. You can draft slow drafts like I do, where you get 8 hours per pick, or you can do fast drafts where you only have 30 seconds per pick, depending on how much time you have. Check it out if you haven't already. Of course, you must be 18 plus to play, or 21 plus in Massachusetts or Arizona, 19 plus in Alabama or Nebraska. If you're concerned with your play, you should call 1-800-GAMBLER. But again, you can play best ball, as I've been talking about. I love the daily games as well. They have kind of like daily DFS, except it's a draft instead of a salary cap. They do have pick'em props. They have I guess those are all the options. They have different types of best ball contests. They now have the weekly winners contest, which you should really check out if you haven't already. It is a lot of fun. But again, if you haven't signed up for Underdog, use the link that I put into chat. It is, or in the link in the description of this video. You get your first deposit matched up to $100. I put it up on screen, but I'm not going to do anything with it right now. We're going to get back to talking about the games. All right, Adam. Next up, we have Colorado at San Francisco. Connor Siebold on the mound for the Rockies. Ryan Walker for the Giants. Are you playing either of these pitchers?
No, Walker is just going to be an opener. You can't go there. Siebold isn't very good, so probably not going there either. 5.1 implied run total for San Francisco, only 3.4 for the Giants, but for the Rockies rather. Giants look pretty good. They're 5th in stack score, tied with Minnesota. 8% chance of being the top value, 5% chance of being the top stack, 5% ownership. Siebold does get out of Colorado, big park upgrade for him, but still a 188 expected ISO to lefties this year, 207 to righties. The Giants are pretty cheap. Conforto 3,600, Yastrzemski 3K. Bailey stands out as a really good catcher option if he's in the lineup at 3,500. Wade is cheap. Peterson's the only guy above 4K in their projected lineup, and even he's only 4,600. So the value aspect is pretty nice for the Giants. The only negative here is that the park does suppress power. It's fine. It's close to league average for scoring runs, but for home runs, it's really hard to hit home runs here. And obviously that matters a lot in DFS. On the other side, not particularly interested in the Rockies. Huge park downgrade, pretty shitty lineup. Ryan McMahon in particular, I think is good, but not a lot to like there.
Okay. How would you rank the 4 sides of the game?
Giants. I wanted to see. So Manaea is listed as the likely long reliever for the Giants. That doesn't necessarily mean anything, though. We've certainly seen that be wrong a lot. But I'll say Giants. I guess Manaea. I guess the Rockies. I guess Siebold. But I don't like anything here except the Giants.
Okay, so it's not all that impactful whether Alex Wood is pitching or what is. We're still trying to figure out. I know that Rich is currently working on the Giants pitcher situation in the data, but it looks like we've got some conflicting info about the situation. But is it not going to be all that impactful for you either way? But if Alex Wood is the starter, do you think you're going to end up having some interest there?
If Alex Wood starts, I would have some interest because he's only $5,700 and he's facing the Rockies.
Right.
If it's Walker starting and we're guessing that it's Manaea would have some upside, but you always just have that risk where we don't know how the Giants are actually going to handle it. And you do have enough good pitching on the slate where I would probably just not get to it.
Yeah, so that's we're still kind of figuring out. Humboldt was asking if Alex Wood is pitching. I've seen conflicting information, so we are working on it. But probably the only Giants pitcher you would play is Alex Wood if he is pitching. Would be the most interesting. All right, well, we'll let you know if we get more info there. But moving on, we have Texas at Washington. Andrew Heaney on the mound for the Rangers. Jake Irvin for the Nationals. What is your level of interest in the pitchers here?
Definitely interested in Heaney. $8,200 price tag, 12% chance of being a top 2 pitcher, 14% ownership. Good strikeout pitcher, not to the same extent that he was last year, but he has still struck out 25% of hitters this year. 4.47 xFIP. Right-handed hitters this season, 24% strikeout percentage. They do also have a 217 expected ISO. It's a pretty big boom or bust spot. This park does play up power, especially during the summer. It's supposed to be 91 degrees in Washington, so ball should be carrying. So it's not a safe spot. The Nats aren't a great offense, but they do have a lot of right-handed bats, and Heaney is very susceptible to giving up home runs, but he is also good at getting strikeouts. Not the best strikeout spot, but he's also only $8,200. So kind of just like both sides in tournaments. I'm not looking at the Irvin against Texas, though. That is one of the least appealing spots on the slate.
Okay. How about the bats in this game?
Yeah, both sides are pretty interesting to me. Texas coming in first in top stack percentage, second in stack score since they are relatively expensive. But Irvin is not particularly good. Texas is one of the best offenses in baseball. 183 expected ISO to lefties for Irvin this year, 151 to righties. Seager looks great. He's expensive at 6,400, but he looks great. Lowe looks good. Jonah Heim looks good. And you can certainly get to the right-handed bats here as well, even though Irvin hasn't given up as much power. They're still good righties with Semien, Garcia, Young in particular. Duran is cheap and having a great year as well. So the Rangers look really good. And then from a value standpoint, the Nats look good as well. 4.2 implied run total, not nearly as high as Texas's 5.8, but Joey Meneses, 3,500, Stone Garrett, 2,900, Lane Thomas, the only expensive hitter on this team, and he's been fantastic this year. So from a home run standpoint, I think the Nats look pretty good as well.
Okay. Yeah, we have the news god saying that we have multiple sources, books and MLB Press both have Walker as a starter today. So we're just going to have to get Alex Wood. It looks like he's not starting, so not a huge concern there. All right. How would you rank the four sides of this Texas-Washington game?
Texas, Heaney, Washington, Irvin. I think you could make the case for Washington ahead of Heaney in the sense that like they're cheap and there's going to be a lot of lineups where they help you get to better pitching than Heaney. But Rangers definitely 1, Heaney or the Nats 2, 3, and Irvin definitely 4.
Are you how long are you taking for vacation now? Are you I think I read that you're taking today. This is your last show and then you're off for a little while. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm off until the following Monday because it just worked out. I was taking off Friday and Saturday because it's one of my friend's birthdays. And so we'll be going out. And it just worked out that Friday is the first day back from All-Star break.
Yeah, I was talking with my wife, I think 2 days ago. We were just like talking and I was like, yeah, oh, and next week is MLB All-Star break. So I guess I won't have as much content. And then we already had plans to go up north tonight for just one night. We're just going to go to a concert tonight. And then she was like, well, should we take a couple more days off work then? And it's like, yeah, right now is perfect time to take a little time off work because there's not much to talk about next week with the All-Star break coming up.
Yeah, the All-Star break snuck up on me, or I probably would have planned to at least go somewhere.
Yeah.
The other night, I was like, oh, maybe I'll just like go up to the lake. That's a couple hours from here for a couple of days. I asked a couple friends if they wanted to go, and they said yeah. And then I looked at like where to stay, and I was like, oh, I can't get a spot, so we're not doing that.
Yeah. Jeffrey Battaglia, happy birthday. He retracted his message, but I think that he was saying that has a birthday today. Happy birthday. Yeah, same thing. I didn't know that the All-Star break was coming up until I think I saw Nolan mention it in the comments somewhere, and I was like, oh shit, All-Star break. But yeah, hopefully we're not breaking anybody's hearts right now. Tomorrow is the last day before the All-Star break, so get your DFS in now while you can. All right. Next up, we have Kansas City at Cleveland. Brady Singer on the mound for the Royals. Gavin Williams for the Guardians. Any interest in these pitchers, Adam?
Williams is somewhat interesting because Kansas City sucks. 3.7 implied run total for KC. Williams projects as a solid enough pitcher. You know, he's young. He's going to have some inconsistency, but he's a top 100 prospect. He has, depending on what model you look at, the bat projects him for a 21% strikeout percentage over the rest of the season. That's the low mark of any of the models available on Fangraphs. The high mark is 25% from Zips. Call it, 22, 23%, kind of, meet in the middle. They all project them for like a 4.5 FIP, 4.5 plus FIP. So, again, not a perfect pitcher at this stage, but does have good enough stuff. 9 starts at AAA this year, 46 innings pitched. He struck out 33% of hitters. That hasn't translated to the majors through his first 3 starts, but, it's 3 starts. And I just talked about the strikeout projection going forward. So 7%, or 7K rather, against a Kansas City team that is very bad. They are second to last in WRC plus on their active roster against right-handed pitching at 81, 25% strikeout percentage. We have Williams getting 28% ownership. That's probably a little bit high in the sense that he has an 8% chance of being a top 2 pitcher, 13.5% chance of being a top 2 value. If you're building a lineup that needs a pitcher in that price range, but you also have a lot of popular hitters, there's nothing wrong with, say, turning Williams into Miles Michaelis in that lineup or, something like that, just getting a 10-1 ownership discount. But amongst the pitchers, below $8,000, he certainly looks like the best to me.
Okay. How would you, do you have interest in the best in this game?
Not a ton. Singer hasn't been good this year. He's still a relatively talented pitcher. He's only striking out 18.5% of hitters, 4.5 xFIP. The Guardians don't have a ton of power. They do still have a 4.8 implied run total. There's clearly going to be nothing wrong with getting to Jose Ramirez in particular, Naylor, Jimenez, Bell. These guys are all fine. And the team's relatively inexpensive outside of Ramirez. But I don't think this is as appealing a spot as some other spots, other matchups Cleveland has had recently. 4.8% chance of being the top stack, 4.9% aggregate ownership, like 10th or so in stack score, just a middle of the pack team here. On the KC side, not a ton of interest. You are getting a guy making his 4th major league start, so there is some volatility or unknowns there. And the top of the order is fine with Garcia, Witt, Perez, Prado, but not a particularly appealing spot.
Okay. How would you rank the 4 sides of the game?
Williams, Cleveland, Kansas City, Singer.
I was just taking a look at how Gavin Williams looks in the tools. My guess is that you have him projected a little bit better than the tools do, because we've got him with a 30% projected ownership, but just a 14% chance of being a top 2 value, 8% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. Do you think you would have him a little bit better than that?
No, I think that's pretty much in line with where I'll be at.
Cool.
Like I think he's going over-owned in the set, and I might be a little bit higher, but I think he's going over-owned in the sense of like just comparing optimal percentage to ownership,
Sure.
but you're not building the optimal lineup in MLB. So I think if you have a lineup where you already have some low owned hitters and you need a pitcher in this price range, Williams is just the guy that I'm clicking on first.
Okay.
If you have, let's say Texas is getting ownership, right? So like, let's say you have a Texas Boston like double stack or something. Then if I'm in that price range, I'm going to go to like Michaelis or Weaver or somebody that's getting 2% ownership instead of Williams 28. But assuming I've already taken care of the ownership, he's just the guy in that price range that you're clicking first.
Okay. Makes sense. All right. We have 4 games left. The next one, kind of an interesting one. We have Oakland at Boston, Paul Blackburn on the mound for the A's, James Paxton for the Red Sox. What's your level of interest in these pitchers?
Definitely interested in Paxton. Good enough matchup against Oakland. Very good strikeout stuff. Why can't I find this game? Oh, there it is. Yeah, so good strikeout stuff. 3.5 implied run total for Oakland. Paxton this year has a 31.1% strikeout percentage, 3.29 xFIP. He's projected for 23% ownership with a 19% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. That's the 3rd highest top 2 pitcher score on the slate behind Gossman and Cole. So really like him. Blackburn rather has been better this year than normal. And he is kind of a weird pitcher in that a lot of projection models project him to be a lot worse than he has been. But he's pretty clearly made some changes and been a lot better. He's actually struck out 34% of the right-handed hitters. Or sorry, that was Paxton. He's struck out 22% rather of the right-handed hitters he's faced. He's actually struck out 27% of the lefties he's faced. He's not giving up any power to lefties. Righties have a 177 expected ISO. So it's still a good spot for Boston. They have a 5.5 implied run total. The game's in Fenway. But I am a little bit hesitant just because Blackburn does look like an improved pitcher over what he's been in the past. Overall this year, 24.5% K percentage, 3.96 xFIP. Just much better than he's ever been.
Interesting. So did you move on to the bets already? You said you have some concern about playing the bets.
Sort of. I just said, I didn't talk in depth about Boston. I just said that Blackburn in general is a tough one where I think he's better than projections give him credit for. And that goes 2 ways. One, it goes to Blackburn as a pitcher, but I'm still not looking to roster him in this spot against Boston. But then it also goes to the other side where I think Boston's still in a good spot, but they're going to just project a little bit higher than they maybe should, given, if you buy into Blackburn's improvements.
Right. I mean, they have a 5.5 line, so certainly Vegas doesn't entirely buy into Blackman's. So tell me about your level of any interest in the A's, and what is your level of interest in the Sox?
Not much interest in the A's. They are cheap and they're in Fenway, which is nice, but really tough matchup with Paxton. Definitely interested in Boston. I am just a little concerned by the ownership. Yesterday was a slate where I had no issue just getting to Boston at the elevated ownership, and they were relatively disappointing. Today, I think it's a much worse matchup today against Blackburn than it was yesterday. Duran's still getting 24.5% ownership. Devers at 15, Wong at 15. Turner and Yoshida between 11 and 12. So they're not as popular as yesterday, but they are still getting a lot of ownership. Duran still looks like a very good value at 3,500. And that's really why this team's getting so much ownership. They have the 5.5 implied run total, which is about a full run less than it was yesterday, but they're also just cheap. There's not a single hitter on DraftKings in their projected lineup that is $5,000 or more. So not only are you getting a team that projects to be one of the best offenses on the slate, but the pieces you're able to put around them are going to look really good as well. So definitely like Boston, just a little bit concerned about the ownership against a good quality pitcher in Blackburn. But also, not only is it, the fact that this is really Blackburn's first good year, you do also have a weak Oakland bullpen behind him in a good hitter's park. So they don't even have to necessarily do a lot of damage against Blackburn. You could just get those, 7th, 8th inning blowups as well.
True. We got the question that I thought was solid picks asked, what is Blackburn doing differently this year? So you say that he's improved significantly. Do you have any idea what he's doing different, or what are the metrics that you think that have improved so far?
I haven't really looked into it because I don't really care. Like, it's interesting to talk about, but it's not changing like how I approach anything.
Right.
But I mean, the strikeout percentage is way up. He's throwing his sinker less. He's throwing his slider more. Um,
Okay.
Also, generally, when pitchers this year have seen strikeout improvements, it has to do with a sweeper. I don't know for sure if that's the case with Blackburn because, again, I haven't spent a lot of time looking into it, and that's not a pitch that is like really classified on FanGraphs yet. But
Okay.
there's a decent chance that this 20% slider is a sweeper, which would
Might
explain
be.
a lot.
Yeah.
But like strikeout percentage stabilizes pretty quickly. So when you see Blackburn striking out 24.5% of hitters, and in the past he has struck out like, sub 20%, it stands out. Last year he struck out 19% of hitters. In 2021, he struck out 15%. In 2020, he struck out 14. 2019, he struck out 14. So you already had a really big jump last year. And then this year he's jumped another 5 points. It's pretty likely he is better at this point.
What do you think happened, or do you know what happened with the sweeper? Like, it's sort of weird to me that so many pitchers learned this new pitch at the same time. Like, I'd never heard of it before this year. Maybe has it been around longer, and maybe it wasn't popularized until this year? Because it seems like suddenly everybody's doing it, and I never heard of it before. So it's like, is it just like super easy for pitchers to like switch up what they're doing to do this sweeper? Or
I'm not sure exactly what's happened with that. I think if I remember correctly, I think it's a pitch that the Dodgers like entire staff started throwing, and then I
okay,
think in the offseason, every pitcher just kind of copycatted it.
okay, yeah, it's because it seems like it happened quickly, so not much of a learning curve apparently for major league pitchers. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. Um, did you already rank the four sides of the Red Sox game?
No, I didn't. But Paxton Red Sox, Blackburn A's, I guess.
Okay. Have you heard of Trampled by Turtles?
Have I heard what?
Trampled by Turtles.
No.
It's a Minnesota band who I was actually, my friend who was hanging out with last night was like, yeah, I used to hang out with Trampled by Turtles. That's the concert that I'm going to tonight.
Oh, okay,
And they,
nice.
they originated here. They were pretty small. Now they do, I think, tour nationwide. They've become more popular, but still not like, apparently people in chat have heard of Trampled by Turtles, but not to the level that everybody has. All right. Pittsburgh at Arizona. Mitch Keller on the mound for the Pirates. Kyle Nelson for the Diamondbacks. What's your level of interest in these pitchers?
Not particularly high. 3% ownership coming into Keller. He's a good pitcher. The problem is that he's 9,800 in a tough matchup with the Diamondbacks on a slate where you have a lot of good pitching in good spots. So it's kind of like Sonny Gray, where if you need a low-owned, high-upside pitcher, Keller is that, and he's projected to go under-owned, but he's also projected just not to be successful as often as a lot of these other arms. So generally, you're going to be trying to find the money to get the Paxton, Cole, Gossman. Wells is getting 5 times the ownership in a good strikeout spot against Minnesota. So again, you can take Keller's ownership, compare it to somebody like Wells, and I don't think Wells is 5 times as likely to succeed as Keller, but he's a little bit less expensive. He does have the better strikeout matchup. Same can be said when you compare him to these other guys, but outside of individual lineups where you have really popular hitters, it's going to be tough to get to Keller. And then Nelson's 4K, but not really expected to get there.
Okay. What about the bats in this game?
We have the Diamondbacks with about a 6% chance of being the top stack, 4% projected ownership. So going a little bit under-owned, but also a pretty expensive team. Ketel Marte at 5,900, Carroll north of 6K, Walker 5,400, Gurriel 4,700. Not very easy to get to them, and Keller is a good pitcher, so not really going out of my way to target that. The Pirates, 2% chance of being the top stack, 9% chance of being the top value stack, so maybe projected to be a little bit under-owned just when you factor in the top value percentage, but overall, I'm not that interested in this game.
Okay. How would you rank the four sides of it?
Either D-backs or Keller or D-backs, Pirates, Nelson. Just because I don't expect Nelson to go deep into this game. 13 pitches on July 5th.
Okay.
Like he's just the opener here.
Jake Swells asked, would you rather roster Cole or Gossman?
Gossman. But they're both good.
Yeah. All right. 2 games left. Next up, we have Philly at Miami. Ranger Suarez on the mound for the Phillies. Braxton Garrett for the Marlins. What's your level of interest in these pitchers, Adam?
Definitely interested in both of them. Suarez's salary has finally come up after being really cheap all year long, but it's a decent matchup against Miami. It's a good pitcher's park, and he's been solid this year. 23.5% strikeout percentage, 3.71 xFIP. He's only getting 4% ownership, which seems a little bit low to me. On the other side, Garrett getting 13% ownership at 9,600, 16.5% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. It's not the easiest matchup against the Phillies, but Garrett has been very good this year. 27.5% K percentage, 2.9 xFIP is better than every pitcher on the slate, with the exception of Kevin Gausman. So really no problems getting there. I think it's a spot where there's sticker shock because you're paying $9,600 for Braxton Garrett against the Phillies. And most people don't know who Braxton Garrett is, but he's really good. And I don't really have a problem with this price tag. So I think he looks fine. He's 4th in top 2 pitcher percentage. He's not on the same level as like Gausman, Cole, Paxton, but he's also a little bit less expensive. So I like getting there. I like getting to Suarez as a contrarian play as well.
How about the bats?
Nope.
AJ Love music. Do you guys worry about rain when picking your players? I mean, sometimes depends on the day.
Yeah, rain, yeah.
Certainly something to like pay attention to if it's going to rain in an open stadium. But most days not. Like it's what do you think? How often does a game get postponed? Twice a week or something?
Yeah, it's not. I mean, not very often. With pitchers, you also have to keep in mind like when is it likely to rain? Because if you're going to get a rain delay after 3 innings, then it's not going to be great for pitching. But today specifically, no, I'm not worried about anything really. The only game that looks like it has some potential issues would be the Toronto-Detroit game. But right now it's looking like any issues should be at the start of the game, which would probably just mean they delay and pitching is fine.
Right. How would you rank the 4 sides of this Miami game?
Garrett, Suarez, Miami, Philly, Miami. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm guessing you're not a big bluegrass fan, Adam.
You guessed correctly.
I am a bluegrass fan. I think there's like a country adjacent type music that I really like. Like, I don't think I like country music, but there's like music that is similar to country that I really like. And I think bluegrass is maybe in that kind of genre. Folk sometimes can be in that genre, like folk pop, I think is like, it's hard for me to determine exactly what the genres are that I like, because they're very similar to country. But then I hear like classic country and I'm like, well, I'm not a fan of this. So I can't quite.
Yeah. And I mean, I shouldn't say I'm not a fan. I kind of just don't listen to it.
Right. Which is, yeah. And I think I've started listening to it more and more the more I have learned that I am a fan. But
yeah, I like most genres. So like it's more, right. I think, lack of exposure, most likely.
Yeah, I'm similar. I have very eclectic music tastes, but I just like, I go on kicks of like I'm just listening to one type of music. And Trampled by Turtles is, I think you'd classify them as bluegrass, and I'm a big fan. But
yeah, like generally I'm either listening to rap or country, but then like I'll go on like classic rock kicks or 2000s like alternative kicks.
You're a country. I never would have guessed that you like country music either.
Yeah,
that's funny. Interesting. All right. 1 game left. We made it through most of the slate. We have Cincinnati at Milwaukee up next. Luke Weaver on the mound for the Reds. Colin Rea for the Brewers. What is your level of interest in these pitchers?
Pretty low. I kind of mentioned Weaver a minute ago just as an example of somebody where if you do have that really popular, a lineup that has a lot of popular hitters and you're in this price range, maybe you go to Weaver instead of Gavin Williams and just hope for the best. But he's not very good. He's in a good hitter's park. The Brewers aren't the best lineup by any stretch, but it's not a cakewalk either. The top of the order in particular with Yelich, Contreras, Adames can certainly do damage. And Weaver just, hasn't been very good this year. 4.7 to 4.8 implied run total for Milwaukee. 204 expected ISO to lefties, 222 to righties from Weaver. So, he's 6,500. If you need to gamble on him at low ownership in a large field tournament, he's good enough. You can do that, but don't expect it to work out all that often. Colin Rea has been okay this year in terms of preventing runs, but only a 19% strikeout percentage, 4.56 xFIP, and a pretty tough matchup against Cincinnati. A team with a lot of young talent. So kind of surprised a little surprised the Brewers are actually favored here. But then again, Weaver's not very good either. So it's a good park for hitting. I'm not really interested in the pitching.
Rob P says, as you get older, you start listening to country. I could see that maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it. I think I started listening to country when I was like 13.
Benny says, I was hoping Neil would say he's a juggalo. I don't know that I could name a single Insane Clown Posse song. Could you?
No.
Like, I know they have some like wild videos out there, but I've never gotten into the Insane Clown Posse thing. Don't really know their music. I think it's more of a lifestyle than even just like a band that people like. I don't know. I don't quite understand the whole juggalo thing. All right, what is your level of interest in the bats in Milwaukee?
Relatively high. Neither pitcher is great. Weaver, like I said, gives up a lot of power. Milwaukee also isn't very expensive. We have them. I'm kind of surprised. We only have them with a 2% chance of being the top stack. Seems like a better spot than that to me. So maybe I'm just a little bit higher there. Cincinnati, we actually have dead last, which again kind of surprises me. 4.3 implied run total, but also just a lot of upside here. So I don't know, maybe a little bit higher just on this game in general. The Reds are tough to get to though because of the pricing. De La Cruz is 6K. So while he has a massive ceiling, you're absolutely paying for it. But on top of that, McLean 5,500, India 5K, Fraley 5,200, Votto 5,100, Friedel 49. So that team is really tough to stack. The Brewers, though, I mean, Yelich is 5K, Adames 4,400, Contreras 4,300. Everybody else is 3,700 or less. They're a pretty easy 5-man stack, I think. So Brewers in particular, I think I might just be a little bit higher than we are.
Bobby Gomes says country has just gotten better, and then Benny Levine comes in and says I can't stomach country music made after like 1990. So conflicting.
I
Beliefs.
think like how people view country music probably has a lot to do with age. Like I didn't grow up on 90s country, and so I didn't really like it. And like now it's kind of okay, but like I still don't like it as much as like what people consider like basically pop if they're like true country fans. Like
Sure.
Kenny Chesney was like when I got in the country.
Okay.
Which like I know older people probably don't even consider country or like fake country.
Yeah. I don't know. I've just never really listened to country. It's I like there are some songs, old country songs that'll come on at a wedding, and I'll be like, oh yeah, this is my jam right here. Friends in Low Places, love it. It's
Right.
Every wedding, that's a big hit. But just in general, it's not something that I listen to like in my regular life all that often.
Yeah, like Jake Swells has never heard of Charlie. I've heard of Charlie Daniels. I don't listen to Charlie Daniels.
Same. Bobby Gomes.
Charlie. I'm probably as familiar with Charlie Daniels as Wemby is with Britney Spears.
That's funny. Bobby Gomes says, I want to put Bobby Gomes. Are you the Bobby Gomes from the commercials, from the DraftKings commercials from 10 years ago? Good to see you, Bobby. Also been on a heater lately. He's been absolutely crushing MLB recently. All right. How would you rank the four sides of this Milwaukee game?
Brewers, Reds, if you can somehow afford them, Weaver, Araya.
Bobby says, okay, it is Bobby. And by the way, Bobby, I believe that we had a conversation at one point about Bobby coming on high stakes, and he said he wanted to get a win first or something along those lines. So maybe you and I will have to talk again, Bobby. All right, we've made it to the end of the slate. Adam, we'll do our usual stuff, starting with 3 favorite stacks.
Texas, Boston, even though I'm probably a little more scared than the field is. Man, most of these offenses kind of suck. I'll go Washington for the value and home run upside against Heaney.
3 favorite pitchers.
Gossman, Cole, Paxton kind of feels like cheating, so I'll throw in Gavin Williams as the value guy.
I like it. And then have you looked at, do you have a favorite home run pick already?
I do not. I will go with, where the hell did the Texas game go? I'll go with Seager.
All right, let me see what I find here. Oh, so we don't have a core slate. So everybody is on the table. Is this still from Jake Irvin is pitching today, right?
Yes.
So yeah, we have Adolis Garcia leading the way, 31% chance of hitting a home run. Sign me up. I'll go with Adolis Garcia as my home run pick for the day. All right, so you got the week off, Adam. We made it through the end of the slate. So you've got the week off. Any major fun plans this week?
No, probably gonna like just clean my apartment for the first time in a while. And then I have like my friend's birthday this weekend, but during the week I have no idea what I'm gonna do.
George Ponte. Neil, name your favorite player today, and I will lock them in 150 lineups. Rafael Devers, maybe. Although now you've got me scared a little bit with all your talk about Paul Blackburn's improvements.
Devers is still one of the best plays on the slate. It's just, and I guess, I mean, to kind of reiterate this, the Red Sox are absolutely one of the best stacks on the slate. It's just that, like, I'm maybe not quite, I'm a little more concerned about them than like other people might be, but they're still easily the best or second best stack.
Okay. But please do not lock in any player that I recommend into 150 lineups. I certainly would not. Adam, if you were going to lock one player into 150 lineups, one bat into 150 lineups, who do you think it would be?
Probably Seager.
Corey Seager. Yeah, he is our top projected play of the day now. Earlier in the day, Devers was actually our top projected play. So I guess we've had an update since then. Yeah, Seager seems like a good one. All right. I think that will do it for the show. Adam, any final words for the last time you're going to see people for over a week? Any final words?
Good luck today. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the All-Star break. Don't forget MMA at 6 tonight. Should be a good card. And yeah, good luck.
Yeah, it's $200K to first night, right? The MMA.
Yep.
So yeah, check that out as well. Yeah, it'll be a fun little break here, but thank you guys for joining us once again. Good luck today. Good luck with your time off this week. Hopefully you use it productively or enjoyably, and we will catch you next 2 weeks from now. I guess 2 weeks from now on Saturday. Adam will be back. Thanks, guys, and we'll catch you later.